The fun has just begun. We are live. The final strike, episode 15, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery. And we are here today to discuss the Baltimore Orioles. And we're actually going to take some of your questions. So, anybody joining in, we are live here on YouTube under the final strike underscore, or you can find us on TikTok right now. We're using my private account at SRJ Heckman. So, I'll be taking questions on both platforms at the same time. So, bear with me if you do enter any questions. Bear with me because I'm reading for both platforms, okay? So we are here. I appreciate all the support. Told you we're going to be doing some things differently this year. Episode 15 is now underway, and we're going to talk about the Baltimore Orioles heading into the All-Star break, where they are currently in first place by a game. They did beat the Yankees at the end of the day, so we are happy that continued. Welcome on in, Brian Willis. We're streaming the Final Strike podcast for the Baltimore Orioles, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery. So please feel free to ask any questions you have pertaining to this. This is all about the Baltimore Orioles, and like you said, we're talking about the Orioles as they come out of the All-Star break in first place. Of course, we did have representatives at the All-Star game where you had Corbin Burns, who actually started the game for the AL, Adley Rutschman, who was the starting catcher. You also had Gunnar Henderson, who started at shortstop. Then we also had Anthony Santander and Jordan Westburg make it as reserves. So altogether, there were 5 players in the All-Star game for the Baltimore Orioles. It's definitely a fun experience, especially since the Baltimore Orioles became the first team in Major League history to ever have 3 players join the All-Star game with 3 years or less service experience, and that would be Jordan Westburg, Gunnar Henderson, and Adley Rutschman. Adley Rutschman, by the way, made his second All-Star game and his second start, so we're glad to hear that. Welcome, everybody who's coming in. Once again, this is the Final Strike podcast, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery, strictly about the Baltimore Orioles, so we're going to be doing live questions and answers with you all. So any questions you all come up with, please feel free to ask. We're definitely going to be looking forward to interacting with our fans because that's the fun part. That's what we want to do. So, anyway, back to what I was saying. We're heading into the All-Star break, or coming out of the All-Star break. We're actually going to stay in Texas. So the Baltimore Orioles will actually be able to keep Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander, Corbin Burns, Jordan Westburg, and Gunnar Henderson in Texas if they so choose, because they do open the second half of the season on Friday in Texas. It's actually going to be an interesting series because Texas is sitting on the verge of, are they going to sell off and just forego this season? They have already said certain players and pitchers are available. So we're going to be looking for that. Anybody who's coming in here on TikTok? A minute. There we go. We're back on track. Anyway. So it's going to be an interesting second half because the Baltimore starting pitching department, the Orioles are currently down 3 starters as Tyler Wells, John Means both had Tommy John surgery, and we already came into the season down Felix Bautista, who had Tommy John surgery as well. So that's 4 key figures that are down. On top of that, you have Jacob Webb in the bullpen, who is actually on the IL and is out until late August, early September. So we are definitely going to be paying attention to what is going on and see if the Orioles actually make any significant moves. We have articles coming out in the Baltimore Battery that's going to be discussing all this. And we're going to pay attention to the starting pitching and relief pitching more than likely. I don't foresee the Baltimore Orioles adding any hitters, though it's always a possibility. Definitely going to be one of those people who is going to make significant strides to actually improve the team, not only for today, but for tomorrow. in the Baltimore Battery, Jared and me have been talking, especially about relief pitching and starting pitching to go after. A lot of people want everybody to go after Crochet from the White Sox. Me personally, I think the White Sox overvalue him. Same thing they did with Dylan Cease last year. Like, they would not come off Dylan Cease with the Baltimore Orioles unless we started with Jackson Holiday. Now, Jackson Holiday is the number one prospect in baseball, was the number one prospect in baseball at the time that the White Sox were asking for him. Dylan Cease is not a frontline starter that's worthy of that. And I know I'm going to hear flack from people when I say that, but Dylan Cease is a low 2, high 3 starter on most teams in Major League Baseball. At the time, the Chicago White Sox only had him as a dominating pitcher. In front of him, they also had James Shields, and they also had Giolito. So even on their point at that time, Dylan Cease was still only a number 3 starter for the White Sox, and they were asking for the top prospect in baseball. What's interesting and funny about it is eventually we ended up moving on and we got Corbin Burns for Joey Ortiz and DL Hall. It's worked out really well for Joey Ortiz. Unfortunately for DL Hall. Hi, Brick Dad. Good to see you, buddy. Unfortunately for DL Hall, he's been injured most of the season, and he had a few good performances, but it's been downhill from there. So we'll wait to see how that turns out. For us, it's worked great with Corbin Burns. He's definitely in the Cy Young conversation. He leads the team in ERA at 2.43. He's second in victories with 9. He has, out of 19 games, he has 15 quality starts. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more than that from a frontline starter. He's second on the team with strikeouts. He's only 2 behind Grayson Rodriguez. He's pitched most innings out of any of the Baltimore Orioles players. I think, if I remember correctly, it's like 118 and a third innings. So he has done his part as a frontline starter. Now, I would love to keep Corbin Burns. It's probably not going to happen. Unfortunately, he has already said, and he said when he was with the Brewers, now he could have been mad at the Brewers at that time, but he said he was excited to test the free agent market. Now, depending on the type of player Corbin Burns is, this is a guy who has a very strict regimen. This is a guy who wants to pitch every 5th day, no more than having 5 days off in a row before he pitches. Those are things, he does have some standards, but for as dominating as he has been as a pitcher, he kind of does get the way to dictate that. He's also in the middle of his prime, so he's still got another 2 to 3 good years left. I have no qualms giving this guy a 3-year, $150 million contract, especially with the way these contracts are going for the likes of Verlander, Scherzer, and DeGrom. And those guys have been hurt more than they've pitched lately. A guy who is, and I'm going to knock on wood as I say this, a guy who's been pretty healthy throughout his career, going on and pitching the way he's pitching without getting injured and showing up every single time is amazing. What's up, Big Al? Good to see you. Thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate you hanging out with us. The great news is I think there is really a possibility that the Orioles do sign Corbin Burns for the simple fact we don't have the owners we used to. Our new ownership group, led by David Rubenstein, is very involved in what's going on, but they're letting the baseball people do the work, which is great. On this ownership group, you have 4 of the top 800 richest people in the world. So you're going to see contract offers made to Adam Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, possibly Anthony Santander, Jordan Westburg. You might even get Jackson Holiday before it's all said and done, or Samuel Basallo. The interesting aspect about that is we have a owner who wants to win and is willing to actually partake in that and not cry, well, we're a mid-market team. If we're going to do this, we have to raise prices drastically. No, that's not how it works. Mid-market teams have been making their way through baseball for years. Just look at the Tampa Bay Rays, who can't draw more than 12,000 fans to a game, yet are getting a brand new stadium. So we'll see what happens going forward in that aspect. But like I said, adding Crochet would definitely be a top-notch decision. I have no problem with that. I am more inclined to the Tyreek Skubal person joining. And with Tyreek Skubal, he is the best pitcher that the Detroit Tigers have. If you can't get Skubal, we always can go back to Jack Flaherty. And Jack Flaherty is a free agent at the end of the season. Tarek Skubal is a frontline starter. You put him in a rotation with Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez. You're talking about a 1-2-3 punch. Plus, you get him back for another 2 years. You're going to have Kyle Bradish coming back next year. Grayson Rodriguez, Kyle Bradish, and Tarek Skubal. Wow. And imagine if we were to sign Corbin Burns. You're talking about a dominating pitching staff from beginning to end. Hello, Scott. Welcome on in, buddy. Just so you know, what we're doing right now is the Final Strike podcast. So we're talking baseball, Baltimore Orioles, and everything like that. So we're going to be doing this for a little bit before we start doing our other one, which will be a little bit later. So welcome to hang out. Definitely enjoy your company, Orioles or baseball in general. Just shoot them out. I'll be glad to ask them. We're also live on YouTube as well. So we're watching both areas to see how we can do this and improve. This is the first live of the Final Strike. So everybody's support and love is greatly appreciated. And I appreciate it. You just missed my conversation about the Brewers, CJ. Scott, the Blue Jays fan. I was talking about Burns and Joey Ortiz and D.L. Hall. So you came in a little bit after that. Scott, I'm not even going to comment on that. Actually, no, I'm not going to lie. I like Bichette. I like Vladimir Guerrero. So I can't be too upset. But as I was saying, I'm not big on I'm big on the Tarek Skubal trade for the simple fact is the guy's entering his prime right now, and it's going to cost something. Now, I've seen 3 articles so far in the past 2 days, the Orioles contacting the Tigers already, but they're also saying that might cost Jackson Holliday. I'm not ready to give up on Jackson Holliday. The kid's 20 years old playing AAA baseball, where most kids his age are in AAA are 24, 25 years old. He's doing pretty damn good. I mean, he's got a 973 OPS. So, I mean, that accounts for something. That's your on-base percentage and slugging percentage. We have 3 players in the professionals, on the professional team of the Orioles, that have an 800 OPS or better. And only one of them has a 900 OPS, and that's Gunnar Henderson. So, he's not even close to his prime yet. I can't see giving up on him. If we're going to do anything, and I proposed this trade a little bit earlier, frontline starter, I know it's going to cost an arm, possibly a leg, and maybe even a finger. But my thought process is if you offer Colton Cowser, Connor Norby, Kobe Mayo, and, I said, Chase McDermott, but realistically, it probably have to be the Heston Kjerstad or a Samuel Basseo type. I really would hate to give up Mayo and Basseo at the same time, so I'd be more inclined to throw in Cowser instead of Kjerstad. Cowser's actually ranked, I think, above Cowser in our team rankings. So you get Connor Norby, who's the number 6 prospect. You get Heston Kjerstad, who is the number 4 prospect. You get Kobe Mayo, who is the number 3 prospect. And then you get Chase McDermott, I think, was ranked number 11 for the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, you're talking 4 top 11 prospects for a guy who has 2 years of control left, who's 27 years old, and is dominating in the majors. You might have to throw in a veteran player, and at that point, I'm sitting there looking at somebody, possibly Austin Hayes, Anthony Santander, Cedric Mullins. And the reason I go in that order is Austin Hayes has really not been beneficial to us this year. Now, the guy is doing phenomenal since he's come back. I think I saw that he's batting something like 293 since he came off the IL, which is great. But with as good as Kjerstad has been hitting and the type of defense that Cowser's been playing, do you really want to keep them out of the lineup to get a guy who is probably not going to be here with us in 2 years? Cedric Mullins had a god-awful first half, and yes, he's gotten better, but once again, in another 2 years, is he going to be with us? Now, for the past 3 years, Anthony Santander has been the talk of numerous trade discussions Whether that ever transpires or not, I don't know. But he did sign his arbitration contract for $11.7 million, which is the highest for a position player on our team. And it's the second highest contract on our team behind Corbin Burns. So that should tell you he's a free agent at the end of the year. We did not extend him past this year. As much as I love Santander, as great of a person as he is, as hype as he is, and how much Baltimore loves him, is he going to be a part of our future? I don't know. I foresee him eventually being predominantly a DH, but his defense has improved this year. And I brought this up before. Santander actually looks a little bit quicker than he has the past few years. So I don't know if he's lost some weight, made some weight into muscle, but there's something different, and he's actually improved in the speed category, and it's helped his defense. I mean, back in 2020, he was a Gold Glove finalist, and I know 2020 was the COVID year, but he still was a finalist, and I know it's only a matter of 60 games, but to be a finalist in the Gold Glove, you got to be doing something right, and that's all I'm going to say about that is you've got to be doing something right. So we're going to see what happens, and we're going to see going forward if any of those three get traded or are part of the team. Now, you also have Tyler Anderson, who's a left-handed pitcher from the Los Angeles Angels. 32. He still has another year of club control left, if I remember correctly, and I think it's an option with a buyout. Max Scherzer is an intriguing option, but once again, do you want to help improve the Texas Rangers, who are actually have nice young talent as part of their roster that's going to be there for years? Josh Jung can stay healthy. That's going to do nothing but benefit the Rangers. And then they have some pretty young pitchers there. So I don't know if you really want to give up a lot for a rental, because I really don't know if Max Scherzer is going to play next year. I mean, especially with the amount of injuries he's had over the past few years, I'm kind of thinking this might be Scherzer's last ride. And, if he can go to somebody as a World Series contender, it's great. But is it worth giving up players that are in your top 10 prospects that Texas asked for him? Not to mention, his contract is pretty steep. So is Texas going to eat any of that? Because that becomes a factor as well. So, I don't know. It's fun to play this game and, how things are going to go and where it's going to go. Orioles have been linked to Tanner Scott. I like Tanner Scott, but one of the interesting things that I bring up is Tanner Scott's a left-hander. We already have Keegan Aiken, CNL Perez, and Danny Coulomb in the majors who are all left-handers, not to mention somebody who deserves to be in the majors in Nick Vespi, sitting down in the minors, who also has close down there. Why would we trade for another lefty who's a free agent at the end of the year when you already have 4 lefties on your 40-man roster in your bullpen? I like the guy, and yes, he can help out in the closing aspect, but I just feel like you're handcuffing yourself. Now, I will say this. Keegan Aiken this year, Danny Coulomb this year, even Sinel Perez this year have all proven that they can get out left and right-handed hitters, which is crucial, especially if you're a left-handed reliever. With the rules in baseball, you have to face at least a minimum of 3 batters in an inning unless you're ending an inning. So the start of a new inning, you do not have to come out whether you pitch to 1 batter or not. Those are the things that I'm talking about. That's right, Morgan. Go sports ball. So, it's very easy to play armchair GM, but in the end, we really are just guessing and deciding. It's fun. As a writer, one of the things we like to do is, give probability and possibilities. Who might be trade targets? Who might be on the trading block on the team? Doesn't mean we're right, but it's always fun to look at it, and if it happens, to see how close you were to these people getting traded, or even if the people you predicted to be traded for a certain person get traded at all. So that's the fun aspect of being a writer. It's a fun aspect of being a sports host or podcast, and all of it. It's fun to figure it out. it's even more fun to see it go down. And what makes it great is when we get to interact together as fans and discuss this and talk about this. And that's what makes this the best part of doing this. I don't even consider it a job. It's a hobby. It's a fun time for me because I get to share love and passion of something with you all. And that's important to me. So, I appreciate everybody who's come out and supported me on our first live, episode 15 of The Final Strike for the first time. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all the love and support. It means a lot to me. I want to give a quick shout out to one of my sponsors, which is W Energy Drink. You can actually go to w.gg and you can try the different flavors. They do have a starter sample pack where you get 5 flavors and a wonderful shaker cup. Here we go. A wonderful shaker cup for less than $20. And if you use Stephen R. Heckman, you can get 10% off your order. Try different flavors and everything to come up with it. Remember, it's w.gg. Head on over there, type in Stephen R. Heckman for a discount at checkout. Also want to thank the Baltimore Battery for giving me the opportunity to do this. Without the Baltimore Battery, this never would have happened. It's been 3 years that I've been a part of it, worked my way up, and have become the head writer there. And it's just a great group of people that we have there. Do not forget to head over to thebaltimorebattery.com. We have a plethora of new articles. Justin's written a few. Zachary's written a few. Casey has written quite a bit. RJ written a few. I've got a couple coming out. So there's plenty there to check out. Please let us know what you all think. Please let us know what you're all looking for. And let us know if you have any questions pertaining to any of the articles. That's what we want to hear. We want to interact, and we want you all to be a part of it. You can always find the Baltimore Battery on X and TikTok using the tag handle at the Be More Battery. You can find me on X and TikTok under at SRJ Heckman. You can also find The Final Strike on YouTube and X under a tag handle at The Final Strike _. So numerous different platforms that you can find us on and be a part of. Join us, ask questions. Don't forget, we'll return to 10 Minutes with Steven next week here on TikTok under the Baltimore Battery account. Also, want to give a quick shout out to Scooters for Rent, one of our sponsors. Without them, not be on. So if you're ever down in the Eastern Shore area looking for mobility equipment, that's handicapped scooters, electric, manual, and beach wheelchairs, even lift recliners. Give Scooters for Rent a call at 302-280-6203. Be sure to tell them Stephen from The Final Strike sent you. Until next time, Baltimore, please keep that cold. Go O's. Season starts Friday, so hope to see everybody there, and we'll be back next time. Peace out. Thanks for hanging out with me. I much appreciate it.